Well, another storm at sea here in LA, and also there's this nasty cold going around, which of course I got right away, and everybody's hacking, and it's been a little bit of a homeless bitch when you're sick, if you ever tried it, and everything you own is on a vehicle, and you can find yourself in a little bit of a uncomfortable situation. It's one of the challenges when you're on the road like this. Getting sick can be a significant pain, but you know, God has given us this life, and one of the things I've been saying in prayer lately is, you know, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be tried with fire, this opportunity to have a situation where I'm dwelling in darkness and having evil, negative thoughts a lot, and things coming against me. So basically, I wanted to just update a little bit on the being able to park my RV in various places when you're living on the road. And basically what happened was, over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, basically I got driven out of this one area from one homeowner or homeless person after another. By the way, that sounds completely counterintuitive. You'd think that other people living in their vehicles would kind of be your allies. You know, that's what a lot of people that are newbies think. No, my experience is, and maybe other people have a different experience, but my experience is other homeless people that are like the uncivilized kind, the kind that have lost their mind, they make a mess, so they're just total idiots. That ends up being one of your biggest problems. Your single biggest problem that I have found is where to park it. That's cool if you have a vehicle like mine that's like an RV. So you can solve that problem if you can get something more stealth like a van, and then just drive that everywhere you go. But like I said, that has problems. If that's your only vehicle and it breaks down, gets broken into severely, like where it's like basically unusable, or gets destroyed, a tree falls on it. You may think that doesn't happen a lot. It does. Gets destroyed in a wreck or stolen. Well, your life equals shit out of luck in a big way. So that's why, in my opinion, if you can possibly afford to have two vehicles, that's what you should do. That's my advice, because I mean, I've been in several situations, especially where I've had to have repairs done on my main vehicle or one of my vehicles, and if I didn't have the other one to kick back in, I would have been sleeping outside and no place to store all my stuff and get my shit together and clean and shave and everything else, you know, unless you want to pitch a tent. And pitching a tent is not good. First of all, it's a pain in the ass to set up, especially if you're going to break it down and do it up every night. And if you're going to leave it someplace, well, that's even worse, because then who knows, you know, the street cleaner people will come out, and, you know, so it'll be a problem. But one thing that I like about my current situation is I've got one car like this, my Jeep, my old Gray Lady, and then I've got an RV, which is much, if you don't have any friends or family to kick with, if you can't afford a home, oh, let me tell you, I have lived in a truck that's not too dissimilar to this, except it's just with a shell, and I did that for 4 years. And I can tell you, having an RV where you can sit up and maneuver everything, get dressed, and most importantly, cook. I like to be able to cook because you can save a lot of money. If you like just go to the market and get like a thing of sushi or a sandwich or whatever for dinner, and you do that every time, it costs a lot more than if you buy food and you make it yourself, especially at night, which is easy. You know, you can fry up some potatoes or pasta or rice and maybe a little tuna and some chicken now and again. You know, if you don't have a lot of money, which is basically the situation I'm in, I mean, that's totally works. You know, you can totally deal with it. But when you don't have that, your options are a lot more limited. And what I like about having an RV as opposed to a regular vehicle like this is that the insurance on an RV is way cheap. At Progressive, my yearly insurance, which was the huge big one, really keep me down. I didn't know this. If I had known this, I could have saved so much money and hassle. But is $180 a year. I gotta pay like close to $1,000 for this car, for the insurance. And here in California, well, it's probably the same. Maybe we're in most states now, but you're not redoing your car registration without the insurance. So it used to be you could fake it, and I did for a long time. I would fake it, you know. I'd send in the fake thing, you know, because I just didn't have the money for the insurance. But basically, now I'm living on literally a wing and a prayer. The priest's last hope, crazy as though it may be, and my angel swooped in to help me and keep a little help flowing for me. Thank you, Miss Angel. I really appreciate it. Because, boy, it is hanging by a thread, friends. And, you know, I don't like to talk about this too much because the problem is anybody looking at this who works would be like, well, get a frickin' job. Yeah, try it. Hey, I would love to, man. Just try it. But see, I found out in this episode with these angels and seeing how the way these Buddhist monks were, they live off what the people give them. And that's what when I put two and two together about what was happening to me. Now, I could be all wrong about this, and I don't blame anybody for being skeptical. But I think what it is that that's the way the priest has to live. And me, I really am not like like one of these traditional priests at all. I mean, I'm a guy with a video camera, and, you know, I like to draw anime chicks, and, you know, I'm not as saintly as one would imagine someone like me would be if you call yourself a priest. But I didn't call myself a priest. The angel came and said that. And as I told you, I mean, if the angel said it and that's what God said to her, then, you know, I'm not in a position to say no. What God decides, that's it. I have learned finally. But you can tell by looking, you know. I mean, when I say by finally, I'm kind of thinking of maybe past lives where I might have been a rebellious fool and died, and as a rebel fool, not realizing that there is no word or counsel against the Lord. And if He decides something for your life, you know, He's the maker. And all you're doing is being foolish to go against that. So when He says something and it's in His word, like, don't pick up the gun, that means don't do it. So about that drive out from that neighborhood where I'd been parking for about 2 years. In my case, I want to say that it's my understanding that it's actually spiritual. So in my case, I think what it is that it's either I have an energy or something that people around me can feel. And it's oops, sorry about that, lost light there. There's a like a field of energy, and what happens is that it affects people or the demons that are living in people, and then those demons drive those people to want to get rid of me. And this happens everywhere I go, which is why I try to not go to one place too much. And every time I do go to one place too much, it allows Satan to work on certain people there that are vulnerable to their demons and the control they have, and cause them to start acting out against me or set up a situation to fight me. That sounds like paranoia if you've never encountered that. So I'm really talking to people who have had some experience. I can tell you that if you're on the right path and you're going to be saved and you're going to be a friend of Jesus, you will have by now experienced being attacked. There is no one who should be in a situation where they have not experienced being attacked. Whether you're a targeted individual attacked, or whether it's just individual weird stuff, your family coming against you, and an overall isolation, you are going to experience that kind of thing as a result, that kind of persecution as a result of being a true candidate to enter the kingdom. I always say that because a lot of people think that you're automatically getting in, and that's not the case. Many are called to be Christians, few are chosen to make it, is what the scripture means. And these pastors of these churches, they won't tell you that. They won't tell you that because they don't want you to know that, because you come in and give them money, and if you tell them that most of them ain't making it, they ain't going to do that. They're not going to come in and give you the money, and not only that, but they're not going to give money to someone whose gospel is the real thing, because we know that in the end time they will not endure sound doctrine. Yeah, there's police helicopters buzzing overhead now. You may not be able to hear it in the background, but they do what they'll do with me also is they won't circle directly overhead so as to be caught on camera, but they'll circle around the area. Maybe we can get this guy on video. Well, you can hear him anyway. But of course they know your location at all times, and they'll buzz around just to make you feel like there's nowhere you can go, or they don't know exactly where you are, which of course is the case. By the way, in case any of you TIs are listening, they don't need a phone to track you. Okay, they don't need anything to track you. They don't need a little electronic device. They don't need your car. They don't need anything. They can know exactly where you are at all times. Remember, they have remote viewers. They have the demons living in you. They have demons surrounding you, people in the spirit, witches. So, don't think that anything is private that you're either saying or even thinking. And people that don't understand that get driven crazy by the fact trying to do all the secrecy stuff. I don't want to talk on the phone. Like this one guy wouldn't even meet with me because I said let's just talk on the phone, and he was so worried about somebody hearing his conversation that he didn't want to. I don't know what his reasons were. Whatever they were, if you can't even talk on the phone, then there's something that's not right. That's if anybody that I've communicated with, if you can't at least talk, eventually, email first and then talk on the phone. But if they eventually won't talk on the phone, especially if that becomes convenient, rather than a big long ass drive to downtown LA in the middle of the rain, there's a problem. There's a considerable problem. And unfortunately, so many people are just, they want to help, they want to fight, they want to do things, but they lack coherency. They lack the ability to just simply communicate and communicate clearly, or they have these, wild, crazy ideas about all this various stuff, and that's one of the problems you have. But back to this thing about being on the road and being, so in that neighborhood, I was basically driven out. One person after another came out of their house or expressed that they hated me, doing whatever, like in the middle of the night, blasting noise or something to let me know. This one guy, and then this one other homeless guy that was like right around the corner. He was like starting up his vehicles at 3 a.m. This really loud vehicle, rah, 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 but he had talked with me before and made up some lie and said that the neighbor had complained about me or whatever. When he has all this homeless trash and crap piled up outside of his vehicles. And my one little neat, clean, no trash, no blight RV is somehow a problem. Yeah, okay. And but what happened was that homeless guy had a spiritual problem with my presence. I figured out he was so filled with Satan that he couldn't stand me to be there, even though I was parked far away from him and I wasn't like right on top of him or anything. And we had friendly, cordial conversations before. My presence was not able to be withstood, in my opinion, as I see it, by the demons living in him. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something else, like he just can't stand anybody, any other guy that is living in his car near him or something, and he does the same if everyone who goes back there. Who knows? But at this point, I've begun to kind of sense when it's like a spiritual thing. And then this other guy, I parked in front of his house for 2 seconds, comes out, gives me some crap about my RV, starts giving me this total asshole. And then in this other place that I was parked, this one guy came out, gave me some crap a little while, and then little while, then he didn't say anything, and then this other guy came out, started saying hello, hello, like like I was bothering him. So basically, I had to clear out of there. There was no other place I knew in that area that was cool to park. And basically, it's because someone had a residential home right there. So, what I have found before was that if you park in front of like someone who owns a home, but if you park in front of a place where there's apartment buildings, and it's just apartment buildings basically in that area, you're likely to have less of a problem. Although I just got driven out of this one spot where I was in front of this apartment building, and whoever was there was giving me a message that they didn't want me there and they started blasting their stereo super loud. There's no way that, I could deal with it. So basically all I could do was park it up and move it to the back end of the street. And right now I'm at the last place where I know of where I could park it regularly during the week, and I kind of like park it in one place during the week and then on a kind of a higher end, nicer place during the weekend. And who knows how long I can do that before I get driven out of that area. So if you could figure out a 2-vehicle system where they're both stealth, like a van that looks like it could be like a carpet cleaning van or a delivery van or something else, maybe put some kind of delivery sticker on it or something. Some guy was suggesting you do that for stealth. That would really be more ideal than what I've got. But the thing is that, like I said, the RV, the insurance is super cheap, and it's really nice to have like a kitchen where you can cook and everything. Now you can build that into a van, but you can't stand up in a van. That's the thing. So you're basically seated at all times, and everything that you're doing in the seated or crouched position. And it's much nicer getting dressed and cooking and doing everything when you have an RV. And mine is so small and innocuous, you'd think it wouldn't be as much of a problem as it is, but I can tell you it is. It's a huge problem. People don't want it. People do all kinds of stuff against you. And then in this one spot, that spot that I told you about where that guy was blasting his stereo, and then I had to move it back to this other place. In that place, Satan is coming against me with all this stuff. This one dog just barks its head off. There's no reason. Yeah, I could totally tell it's for my sake. It just goes rah, 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 continuously. Satan can do that. He gets into animals and does that. And then has some guy also, which he knows he's been doing this to me for years in other places. He'll get those little mini scooters that have the little motor that goes, and he'll drive by. And it's not enough. It has to come by and do it again. And just again. And sometimes they'll just keep doing it. And I got like multiple attacks of stuff like that last night, And it's just, it's a tough situation, guys. If you're on the road, man, and you're facing this situation, phew, I mean, it's enough, I think most people start going nuts. They can't handle it. Usually in this kind of situation, if you're as poor as I am, and there's nobody and nothing you can do about it, there's no one to stay with, and you're on this, usually like then they can't maintain a vehicle either. Then they're just basically on the street, with the tent and that that, and then who knows how far they fall at that point. But yeah, I mean it's a challenge no matter how you look at it. All right, and on the tech review front. So I want to thank everyone who helped out with the computer. And what happened was I bought a tablet, which was a 16-inch 2-in-1 that has touch input with a pen from LG. And what I like about it is that it's real lightweight. And all of this has so much potential, but it didn't make it. What happened was the pen not only has a considerable lag, okay, this is in Photoshop with optimized settings, just so you know, it wasn't that I had like on some sort of high thing, and plus a computer like that should have totally been able to handle it. For whatever reason, pen on screen input is still very, very slow. This is like how a lot of things like dial internet modem was slow in the beginning with computers, and now they've made it to the point where it's so quick with Ethernet or wireless that it's like night and day how the difference in speed. Well, I can tell you right now that tablets, so pen against screen, is not ready for prime time. Like I would say, it could be another 50 years before they get to the point where it's actually worth it to do that for artwork. For now, you can get those. To me, I don't even like this because it's again, it's not direct. I have to kind of see what I'm doing. If you compare it to pencil on paper, it's just, there is no comparison. You know, I mean, and the control and everything. But like I said, not only was there a considerable lag, so you can't actually see the line as you're drawing it, but then, like, you go like this. I'll show it on the screen here. I made a little shot with it with my camera. You could go like this for a while, or making a line. All of a sudden, it slows down to where there's a huge space between the tip. And it's like for some reason, after a while of drawing, it maxes out the memory or something, and it slows down. You ever notice how, like, when you do your signature, when they ask for your signature, a digital signature, and it's like really slow, like really kind of like choppy and slow? That's kind of like a sign of where the technology is, because even on this latest high-end, supposed to be for graphics kind of thing, I can't even believe that they're bothering to sell this. And I even bought an open box too, just to save money, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't have to tear into a fresh unit and then return it, because I returned it. And because I mean, it didn't take me too long to figure out that that pen thing was the difference between the coolness in my mind. I'm like, wow, this would be so cool, direct to the digital image input. Oh, it'd be so cool if it worked. But I can tell you right now, so if you're thinking about getting a pen and tablet for artwork, you know, some people may put up with it, because it does work a little bit as, you know, like as you're doing it. But also, I noticed all these annoying pop-up menus would come up a lot of times when you start to press your thing, and maybe there was a solution to that I could have found over time. But that was one problem. But the main thing is that there's like a lag, and so you can't see and feel what you're drawing as you're drawing it. And then, like I said, if you're drawing an extended line or something, you know, and you're going slow all of a sudden, and then the lag between the line and what you're doing makes using it impossible. I mean that doesn't even make any sense. What makes sense now is for computers to be used for things other than delicate line or painting work, and then you edit it in the computer. So you bring it in after you've scanned it, and then do Photoshop for color and all this other stuff. But as far as like line work or whatever, no, not at least to me, you know. And also, I don't know that, I can't imagine. I'm saying this as a general matter because I don't think that LG got it wrong. I think that they make good stuff. It's just that that's the state of the art. And to me, trying to draw something when you can't see exactly, you know, hitting it as you're drawing it, because there's a lag, and then if you draw something longer, then there's a really big, like a total like an unusable slowdown after just a little while. No, you might as well just, you know, and not only that, I think this may be something that's forever. There's really nothing that matches real media, you know, real paper and pencil or canvas and paint. There's nothing that really matches the control and fluidity, the ability to really turn it in your hand too, or, you know, coming at it from different sides. With digital, it's a little bit awkward, but I think the technology will improve. So I hold out hope. I mean, the world may, and as far as, you know, our current state of technology may be set back to the, you know, the 1820s with horse and buggy wagons and stuff, you know, after a while. But I mean, if that doesn't happen, if it continues on, you know, for another, you know, if technology still remains intact, I would say after a while we could get something to where you could match what real media gives you, and yet with direct digital input. That would be so cool if it worked. So I don't know what I'm going to do right now. I'm just saving money. Actually, I'm kind of thinking that maybe what I'll do is upgrade my camera, because when I was buying, and by the way, I love my Sony. It was great. I got the Sony Alpha 6400, and at the time I got it, like I said, the only reason I bought it was when I got a place and I wanted to do indoor videos that didn't look grainy and messed up like they do on these little flip camcorders here. And so I didn't want a time limit, but what I should have done, or I might have thought about it if I knew how cool it would be to go out and get video footage and stuff for B-roll, because most of my videos are just going to be talk videos, you know, vlogging, chat, but and you know, ministry videos, you know, like reports, in-depth reports, and you know, the gang's talking reports, that kind of thing. But so I could have gotten stabilization with the 6500. Maybe it's probably a shorter battery life too, and the battery life already on these is pretty short. But the 6600 solved both those problems. Got a bigger battery, and it had the stabilization, but it's expensive, and it didn't have 4K at 60 frames per second, which I discovered for YouTube you need 60 frames per second, especially if you're not a friend of Satan. Yeah, if you're not a friend of Satan, you need 60 frames per second, otherwise YouTube degrades your footage, as all the people who speak against the narrative know. People like Redacted, you know, various channels, the Gray Zone, whatever, they will degrade your footage if it is not 60 frames per second.